All right, so we're gonna get the easy stuff out of the way first.
All right.
Look here, just for this part. So just introduce yourself, what you do, and name your book.
I am Terrinee Gundy. I am a judge as well as a new author, The Daughter of a Junkie, a true love story.
When does the book come out?
August 22nd, 2023.
All right, I'm gonna get the questions that I know the answer to out of the way already, right?
You have some questions you don't know the answer to?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not. It's some question I had to save for now. But what made you want to become a judge?
That is the question you know the answer to.
Yep.
But maybe for the people who don't know, at 9 years old, one of my friends who was actually disabled was charged with a heinous crime. He was probably 17, 18, maybe 19 years old. And he went away. The police came and got him. At 9 years old, again, he was significantly older than me, but very childlike. And we were friends, and he never came back. And one day I asked my father when he was coming back, and he said he was never coming back because the judge didn't look like us. Well, at 9 years old, I really didn't know what that meant. I just knew that I wanted to be a judge because I wanted to give people a fair shot. My daddy actually said the judge didn't look like us, so he didn't have a shot. So I was like, well, I'm going to become a judge to make sure that people from around here have a fair shot.
So before becoming a judge, of course, you became a lawyer.
Yes.
What made you decide the end goal was always to be a judge, or did once you became a lawyer, you decided that, okay, I need more impact?
First, I wanted to be a lawyer because of my dad, the junkie. So the police came to our house when I was 7 years old looking for my dad, but he didn't let them in. They didn't have a warrant. Well, again, at 7 years old, I didn't know what that meant, but I was curious. And I said, the police came, you didn't let them in. He said, no, they didn't have a warrant, and without a warrant, they can't come in our house. But I need a lawyer to fix this. So at 7 years old, I wanted to become a lawyer for my dad. But then, as I told you, at 9 years old, because of my friend, I wanted to become a judge. At the time, I had no idea that they were related. So a couple years later, I figured out that I had to be a lawyer first in order to become a judge. And I spent my entire life doing just that.
What's a goal that you've set that you didn't reach?
I want to win a Grammy for my audiobook.
For your what?
Audiobook.
But then the audiobook didn't drop yet. You got to give me something that
You asked me? I answer. You can't tell me what my answer is.
What's a goal that you missed?
I don't have any. I'm not built that way. I keep going until I hit the goal.
I can see that. So your book, Daughter of a Junkie, is clearly about your dad. You reference your dad a lot. Your dad I met him, profound guy, and profound vulnerability.
Yes.
How do you reconcile being a daddy's girl while also being a judge to a criminal, essentially?
My father
Or how do you
doesn't
look
have a
at that?
criminal record. Let's stop.
That's why I asked. That's why I said it like that.
Let's stop. My father isn't a criminal. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean that maybe not. Maybe he's done some criminal acts. But he's never been to prison or convicted of a criminal act.
Explain the difference between an addict and a criminal.
Well, an addict is actually someone who has a disease and who is fighting this disease every day, one day at a time. A criminal is someone who participates in criminal behavior and sometimes gets caught and prosecuted and sometimes doesn't. So I think that there's a very fine line between junkie behavior and criminal behavior. a lot of times it cross-sects. And again, I'm not saying that it hasn't in my father. I'm just saying that he's an extremely blessed man. And by the grace of God, 71 years old without a criminal record, and he's been smoking crack cocaine for 45 years. So, I mean, there's nothing but divine intervention to explain that.
I think I haven't read the book. You haven't sent it to me yet.
I haven't sent it to anyone.
I did get the cover early.
Yes.
So I feel special. But just based on the conversation around the book, the conversations we've had about your dad, my biggest kind of hope for your book is that not only does it humanize the struggle of an addict, but it humanizes the nuance between what's black and white and what's not. Do you feel that being an author gives you more leisure to explain that nuance than being a judge does?
I think that not really. I guess I don't look at it that way. So for me, I'm not really trying to explain anything. One, as a judge, I'm following the law based on the facts. As the daughter of a junkie and an author, I'm just really sharing my story, hoping that you find some part of it that will help you in your own story or your own journey. So I'm not really trying to explain in either role. I really don't think that's my place.
I liken your, how do I put this? I liken your perspective on your story to Dear Mama from Tupac.
Okay.
Because, you know, even as a crack fiend, mama, you always was a black queen, mama. So the very first time I found, I knew what the title of your book was. That's the immediate thought. Do you feel it's art's job to explain life to people who don't understand?
No, because I think that art is always based on interpretation, which is why I say the only thing I can do is be vulnerable and authentic enough where I'm sharing a part of me, and then you have to take what you receive. Like, to me, you can't explain art. Art is in the beholder, in the recipient. It can mean one thing for me and another thing for you, but it's still art, even though it has two different meanings. So someone may read my book, say an addict, and he may get something totally different out of it than the child of an addict. Or someone who has no firsthand knowledge with an addict may have more empathy and understanding than they would have before. Or the child of an addict who has been living with shame and guilt may feel released or feel like it's okay to love and share their story. And the addict may feel like, you know what, my child still needs me and I still have something to offer. Because a lot of times society makes addicts feel like they have nothing to offer or nothing left. And I think that that was the beauty in what my sister and I had with my father. We were always able to separate the man from the junkie. And I think to your reference of Tupac, same thing. Interesting thing is I have a Tupac reference in the book.
So when you gonna send me the copy? We like a month out, right? Can I get a copy, please? And that's unique because the uncle who taught me the most about life was a junkie. Yeah. My mom's oldest brother, he's passed away now. He didn't pass away from drugs. He passed away from a car accident. But he taught me
most crackheads don't die from crack. You know, they say crack don't kill. That's true. Like, it's just generally not enough of a substance at one time.
And my uncle used to say, I'm stronger than everybody else because I can survive this. But my uncle taught me how to do sheetrock, how to build houses, how to cut wood, how to change brakes. Like, he taught me
how to be a man.
Everything. He taught me how to be a man. And my dad my dad would take me to my uncle to find out how to do certain things. So I just love the beauty of kind of this. Addicts are treated like throwaways. Addicts and veterans, to me,
Yeah.
veterans who have PTSD or some of these things, they kind of get treated like throwaways, but there's so much value in it.
So much value. And I'm not sure, I was talking to a friend the other day, shout out Taye, and he was saying to me, in the 80s, for some reason, we allowed people to tell us we could just throw our loved ones away. Why did we do that? Well, I didn't. I'm using the universal we. Because I never threw my dad away. I mean, I wouldn't even know how to do that.
And I also feel like there's leaders and there's followers, right? You're clearly a leader, right?
But the junkie taught me to be a leader.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Because followers follow perception. Leaders follow leaders. So your dad had to be a leader to teach you how to be a leader.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think my dad, your uncle, it's clear that they are exceptionally intelligent men. It's just, the things that they taught us how to do. So again, thank God I was able to separate the man from the junkie. Like my son just turned 16. And so we went out of town to celebrate his birthday and my dad came. It was beautiful. And swimming in the ocean, wanting to ride jet skis, doing the water excursions, just amazing at 71. He's on no prescription drugs. Occasionally a little crack cocaine, but other than that, nothing at all. In great shape, very fit. But he did make an observation. My dad has about 8 children, probably one in each generation. His youngest child is 9. And he said to me and my sister, I'm really proud of all of my kids, but I have 2 younger brothers who are adults. He said, I just wish my boys would have listened to me more. But my brothers, who do have criminal records, were not able to separate the man from the junkie. And it could be the father-son dynamic. I'm not sure. It started very young. Because my dad actually taught them the exact same thing he taught us. They just couldn't listen to him.
Do you think it's a product of the relationship? Like your mom and your dad both came to your book release party. Your video release party for your book.
And to Miami with me for my son's birthday.
Do you think their relationship impacts how much you guys listen versus maybe the relationship between your dad and your brother's mom?
No. My dad would never not get along with any of the mother of his children. He's not built that way. So he's going to always defer to the mothers. My dad is not a disrespectful guy. He's not a guy who's going to escalate something with a woman. That's just not who he is. So, yeah, did he love my mom? Clearly. But I'm positive that he and all of those other women have good relationship as well. He's just not going to not have a good relationship because as the mother of his children, he's always going to have some kind of deference to them.
I get that. So who was the first person you told about your book?
Oh my God, that's such a great question. I think the first person would have been Precious Anderson because she is the person who actually pushed me to write the book. We were talking about estate planning.
I was going to ask you, why now? But I guess this is
Yes, we were talking about estate planning and setting up a trust and everything for my kids. And so, I said, I live a modest life. I don't have much, but I do want to make sure what I have. Did you smack your teeth?
My bad.
I know, you're not on camera, but that's not allowed.
Yes, ma'am.
And she says, if you really want to have a legacy, you need to write a book. You need to leave that story for your kids. but the financial impact will also be something that will help them build generational wealth.
The book publishing is the best publishing in the world. For someone in the entertainment space, music publishing is terrible. Movie publishing is becoming terrible. Book publishing is one of the best out of all the artworks that's published to the direct descendant of who created the art. Because you have painters and other things, but a lot of times their estate don't own those,
Right.
and they don't always generate. If somebody buy it, it's gone, right? Switching gears a little bit, let's talk about your mom.
My mom?
How's your relationship with your mom?
My relationship with my mom is great and trying at times.
Y'all too similar?
I think that it's just the dynamic of me being a daddy's girl. And so I am my mom's firstborn child. And, my mom, I think occasionally would like a little bit more grace. And I think that just in general, daughters, we don't give our mothers the grace they deserve, but we tend to give our fathers more than they deserve.
Yeah, I think that's the dynamic. Like your brothers and your dad don't give your dad the same grace.
Exactly.
But you have both. You have a daughter
do.
and a son.
Yeah, I do.
Who's the oldest?
Me.
No, out of your children.
Oh, my children. My daughter's the oldest.
Do you see some of that same mama's boy, daddy's girl type relationship?
I do, except for I tried to work really hard on it, because what I didn't want to do, there's this old saying that says we raise girls and we baby boys. And I wanted to raise both of my children.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
And I think I could see it clearly, briefly knowing both of your children, but I didn't get I'm a mama's boy and I'm a daddy's boy. Like, I didn't get the babying from either side. That's probably why I'm right there in the middle. My mom and my dad were both super hard on me, but I kind of needed it. I was a hard head.
It's the Gemini in you.
Genius. Gemini geniuses always feel like we can figure it out. And most of the time we do. Switching gears. So the concept behind this, the magazine, the photo shoot, the interview, is I want to show Black women in a great light, in a sexy, professional, intelligent, inspirational, authentic light, right?
Okay.
But I also want to show that there's many different career paths, passions, and just trajectories of women.
Yeah.
Do you feel a responsibility I'm sure you feel one as a woman, but do you feel one being a judge, an academic, to kind of embark on young women that, hey, you can do this too. You don't have to take some of the more quicker routes?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's more than just a responsibility. I think it's an innate part of me. Because there were so many people, especially Black women, that poured into me. And so because those women helped develop me, I feel a debt to be paid, to pass it on, to make sure that I'm giving back in the same way that I was poured into. And it doesn't have to necessarily be in academia or professional. It's really about meeting people where they are and where they need help. Because sometimes people are not going to take the same path as you. But that still doesn't mean you don't have something to give them.
True.
Sometimes you can just say, hey, I believed in you.
That's enough.
That's enough.
What's a strong Black woman?
Is that a trick question?
No, it's a real question.
I don't think there isn't a strong Black woman.
Explain.
If you are a Black woman, you are strong.
What's a strong woman?
I don't think there isn't a thing as such as strong woman. So let me explain anatomy to you.
Okay.
God created woman for procreation. My body transforms in a way that your body cannot. That is strength in the most divine sense. And I think that breastfeeding is the closest I've ever felt to God.
Really?
Yeah.
That's powerful.
And it is extremely painful.
Now, I've witnessed that. I haven't done it. So my son is 13. My son's mom, with her second child, she breastfed. With my son, she couldn't endure it, to be honest. My son's a little hard-headed like me, so he probably wasn't taken to it the right way.
Yeah, it's not for the faint at heart.
But I think I've always, and I probably never say this on camera, because I'm technically not on camera, I've always knew my son's mom was stronger than me. I don't think she knows she's stronger than me. And I think that's what happened to a lot of Black women or a lot of Black girls is because they don't truly know how strong they are, they fall into these narratives of what strength looks like. What do you say to that?
I can't really respond to that because I've never had that opinion of myself.
But you're raising a young, strong woman in this climate. You are a judge, you are an advocate, you're a speaker, you're a philanthropist. Do you feel like the term we're losing recipes? Do you feel like today's culture is putting the same confidence in Black kids, Black women, Black boys as they used to, or are we kind of getting away from what true strength and true confidence is?
See, I think that we're getting too caught up in defining things and defining people. So one, I will say that my father put my confidence in me and his confidence in my abilities. So I had a man, a Black man in the 70s telling me I could be a lawyer and I could be a judge. And this was not common. And there were people who were saying similar things like, you can't do that, you should do something else. And so now that may sound really simple, but in the 70s it wasn't. So now if we fast forward and we're saying that kids, young adults, or women are doing things, I guess, that don't seem like they're strong or appropriate, I just think that every generation figures out how to do it their way. And it's really unfair to judge when somebody has decided to do something their way. Because everything new, all inventions start
Somewhere.
with something somebody hasn't done or somebody doing it their way. And so I'm just not a judgmental person to say these young women aren't strong as me. I think that's an unfair assessment. People show strength in different ways. And I believe that this generation is the most creative and intelligent generation we've seen because they have more resources. They have more access. So it would be natural for them to be better than us.
And I think they're the most fearless.
Which again is a sign of strength.
So, switching back to Judge Gundy a little bit. Do you remember your hardest case?
I do.
Can you talk about it?
Yeah. Was a young woman who was 17 years old. She actually had just turned 18. And she was pregnant. And she was prostituting. And her pimp was in court. Made it very evident. And it was apparent that she was actually doing drugs. And I just felt like for her baby, for her sake, like, hey, you know, there are programs that can help you get yourself together. You're still very young. You have a lot of life ahead of you. So the prosecutor was offering her two different paths. She could either accept a deal and do some time, or she could accept an alternative program and get some help. She didn't want help.
She took the time.
But before she did that, she explained to me that she was hopeless and beyond help, which broke my heart, that at 18 she felt like she was beyond help. She told me that her mother was addicted to crack cocaine, that her father was addicted to crack cocaine. He had married a new woman who was addicted to crack cocaine. And that there was nobody who cared for her except the man that was sitting there in the gallery waiting.
The pimp.
Yep.
Yeah, that's tough. And don't take this the wrong way. I've always said I'd rather have any job other than being a judge. I've said that for so long.
It's a very hard job. It's a lot harder than it looks.
Because like I used to want to be a lawyer. I like debates. I like going back and forth. And I like fighting for people, right? What I don't like is school. I think I love learning. I didn't like school. I didn't feel like school was challenging enough. The schools I was going to at the time growing up, so I got bored, right? Mm-hmm. But I always used to say, I don't want to be a judge because a judge is a little bit different than a lawyer to me, because a lawyer has to pick a side. A lawyer is either the defense lawyer or the prosecutor. They fight for their side, right? A judge has to not only assess everything and be as unbiased as possible, but you also have to use judgment.
Within the confines of the law.
Within the confines of the law, but then you have to use judgment about sentencing and some of these things. And
well, sometimes we don't have that option. Sometimes there are
mandatories.
Minimums.
Do you think? How do I ask this? Do you think? In a situation like hers? Do you think a judge, I don't even know if I can technically ask you this, do you think a judge should be able to say, even though you're choosing the time, I'm making you go? I don't know if you can or not. How does that work?
We cannot, and we are not a social services. Yeah, so we cannot do anything except follow the law. And so the law says that if you break a law, these are the consequences. And based on that is what I am allowed to enforce. Now, prosecutors can offer you a deal that includes some kind of alternative sentencing. But no one can force anyone into getting help.
To take the stipulations of it.
Or a treatment program. That's something that each person has to decide for themselves. But now, if it's related to the law and the consequence of the law, that's when the judge comes into play.
And like I look at it, right now it feels like your your workspace is on TV, on the blogs every day. It seems like every day a kid is getting killed or a rapper is getting charged with a crime, or it seems like I don't know if it's more going on now than it used to be, or if it's just reported more, we see it more, or we care more. Like, just as you get older, I feel like you just start to care about more things. But like working, I work with the Parks and Recs department, and just watching some of these kids throw it away and there's nothing we could do about it. I feel like that would be times 10 as a judge, because you really know what they're facing and what they can get. How do you deal with that for the duration of your career? Like, how do you reconcile going home and dealing with the weight of that?
I think that the best way to explain it is that you do the best you can. And once you've done that, you leave the day with the day. Because if you begin to carry one day to the next day, to the next day, to the next day, that's when the weight starts to drown you. So for me, it's no different than being an addict. It's one day at a time. And so I deal with my day that's in front of me to the best of my ability, and I move from there.
I get that. All right, that was a little heavy, so we're gonna move to the third segment. When you're not working, when you're not being a mom, what do you do for fun?
I eat cupcakes.
What kind of cupcakes?
Key lime.
What else?
I guess here's the thing, they say there's 8 billion people on the planet. Mm-hmm. Only 3% of those people get to do something they love every single day. I'm in that 3%.
Same.
Yeah. So that goes with my career as well as my home life. So I'm not really looking for an escape, because I don't need an escape. Being with my family and doing what I wanted to do my whole life makes me happy. And it may sound a little too cookie cutter, but it's the truth.
It makes perfect sense to me, but we both crazy.
I just got back in town. I told you my son turned 16. We went to dinner. We went on a boat. We went jet skiing. We went flyboarding. We went swimming. We had a night swim. We went in the lake. We went kayaking. We ate some cupcakes. Like, I had a ball. And I guess I got that from my parents. My parents always wanted to live life with us. And so I enjoy living life with my own family.
I think a lot of people call us crazy, or call that kind of thinking crazy, but I don't need escapes.
I don't.
I love what I do. I love the people in my life, or they don't stay in my life. Mm-hmm. So I think when you find that you can do what you love to do, and you can do it with people you love to do it with, you don't need that. Like, I don't need vacations. I need vacations with people that I care about. Like, a vacation could be us going to dinner. A vacation is, okay, I love work, but I also love being around the people I love. So a vacation is, let's go do 2 hours. But if I got to come do an interview till 11 o'clock at night, I love that just as much as I love that 2 hours at dinner. But people always tell me that's going to leave me single. It's going to leave me unmarried, and then eventually I'm going to get lonely or whatever. You're not married currently.
Currently.
Do you feel like you're missing that part of your life or that relationship? Do you feel like you're missing a piece of life by not being married?
No. My father, first of all, told me not to get married before I was 30. And I didn't.
I think it should be illegal to get married before you're 25.
So I waited. And I got divorced, but I have 2 beautiful children from that union. Candidly, I didn't expect to enjoy being married as much as I did. It's just that marriage, like any other partnership or business, you have to find the right person you're compatible with. And so for me, I don't miss incompatibility. And because I feel fulfilled in my life, I don't feel a yearning for something else. So yeah, you can always have, I have wonderful relationships. I've been in a relationship that was great and wonderful. And so that's just not something, again, I'm not wired that way. I'm really in the moment, what's in front of me right now, and I am grateful for that. And whatever that comes with, so if that is a friendship or a relationship or spending time with my children or my family, I'm really just present with what's happening in my life.
Styles P, one of my favorite rappers, he said, "A man with too many wants don't never put his needs first." And I used to play that a lot. And what I realized is, although, we all want to have a romantic partner and all of these different things, but what I know I needed is I need passion. I need compatibility. I need intelligent conversation.
Yes.
I need compassion. I need discipline. I need all of these things that I realized came before the wants, so much so that I don't necessarily want for much. And I don't sit around wanting for things that I don't feel I can go change.
Agreed.
And I feel like goal-oriented people don't have this yearning because we set goals and we accomplish them. So if it's not on the goal list, that means it's not necessarily hindering us, right?
Right.
I told my son, my son is 13, and my son's going through that period where it's like, I want to talk to you about girls, but I don't want to have awkward conversations and not seem cool. So I was telling my son, I was like, you should date who you want to date, not date who people think you should date, and you should not always feel like you have to date.
Agreed.
And he's like, well, what if I never get married? I said, if you live your life in what ifs, you'll have more what ifs.
Yeah.
If you live your life in what you're doing, you'll always be doing something.
Yeah.
Is that a message? Do you think that's the right message? Because his mom is completely opposite. She thinks I'm scaring him from relationships.
I think the best advice that you gave him that I would give to anyone is do what you want, especially at 13, because you still have the luxury of doing what you want.
On my dime.
Because as we get older, we have to make decisions because we're more responsible. So it's based on how it will affect the people we love. But at 13, 15, 17, 20, when you have no responsibilities, this is when you should have the luxury of doing what you want, to see exactly what you want.
To be selfish.
You may like being in a relationship. I'm a relationship girl. I make this joke to people. I've been in a relationship since the 6th grade. Like, you know what I mean? I'm single for like a day. Like, I go from one relationship to another. I'm a relationship girl. Some people don't like relationships.
That's pretty woman privilege. It's definitely pretty woman.
Thank you for the compliment.
So my last relationship question is, do you think you should have intentions before you meet a person? Like, I was having this debate maybe 2-3 days ago. You know how people be like, oh, my next relationship is gonna be my last, or the next person I go on a date with is gonna be my boyfriend, or the next person I think it's the craziest thing in the world. I don't feel like if I wanted to date you, I don't feel like I can decide that before I meet you. I think that's insane. But I think we live in this culture where people are making affirmations for dating more than making realistic life choices.
Again, I'm not a judgmental person. So
Judge.
I'm just not. I mean, if that's your thing, go for it.
Is it realistic?
I mean, I heard an interview with Viola Davis, and she said she literally asked for everything she found in her husband, who she's been married to for years now.
I love Viola Davis, by the way.
Love. And so, again,
If it works for you, it works.
if it works for you and that's your thing, that's your thing. Me personally, I'm more like you. I just don't move through the world in that way. You know, I believe in genuine connections. I believe in compatibility. And again, thank you to my mother and father. I've never searched for happiness in another person. I always focus on my own internal happiness first, and then I move through the world. And if I connect with somebody who can add to that, or I can add to them, that's beautiful. But I'm not a person that is going to make an affirmation of, I want this to be my next relationship, I want that. What I want is what God has for me. That's my only affirmation. Because what God has for me is for me, and no man can get in the way of that.
I think compatibility is the most important thing in any relationship. It's more important than love. It's more important than like. It's more important than sex. It's more important. If we have a compatibility scale of 10, if we're not firing on at least 8, I don't care how fine you are. I don't care how rich you are. I don't care how nothing.
Because you know what comes with compatibility? Peace.
It's a bar. You ready for your this or that, your rapid fire?
This or that.
I'm gonna start easy, ease you into it before I start make you really think. House or condo?
Condo.
Concert or movie?
Movies.
Dinner date or adventure date?
Adventure.
R&B or rap?
Rap.
Who's your favorite rapper?
Tupac.
Gemini.
Yes.
Biggie's a Gemini too. So all of us in there just dope
Tupac
people.
is still the best.
Dope people.
I want all the smoke over Tupac.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. All right. Dear Mama or Brenda's Got a Baby?
Brenda's Got a Baby. I'm from Duval.
Lil Duval or Kevin Hart?
Lil Duval. Hands down.
Which side of Duval? Moncrief.
North side. US 1. Myrtle Ave.
Murder Ave. Don't ever get it messed up, right? Football or basketball?
Basketball.
Love or success?
Love. There's no success without love.
Ooh. Elaborate.
Sure. You can be as successful as you have defined in your head. But without somebody to share it with, it means absolutely nothing. It's why my book is called The Daughter of a Junkie. Everybody hears that part. Even at the beginning of this interview, you said, your book, The Daughter of a Junkie. Everybody forgets the true love story.
The true love story.
The love is why I'm sitting here.
But that's the thing about polarizing titles, right? The title of my book is polarizing. And I know it's people that's only gonna hear a part of my title.
But the love is the success. The love is why I am here. Not the law degree, not being a judge, but because I have been unconditionally loved my entire life. That is what led me to success, because that is what gave me the confidence to believe in myself and my abilities. My mother and my father loved me unconditionally.
And that's my favorite Tupac song. That Tupac song probably got where I'm at this stage now with my son. When I was 13, 14, 15, I used to listen to Unconditional Love because I was the bad kid. My brother was straight A's, didn't get in trouble. And
I was your brother.
My brother is 2 years. You was the brother.
I was your brother.
The youngest is always the problem child. I don't know if your sister was the problem child, but
My
I was
sister was me.
I'm the problem child.
The three of us was your brother. Two of us.
Nah. I was determined to rebel.
Gemini.
Me and Tupac. But my brother, I used to play this song all the time, right? And one day my mom came and asked me, why do you listen to this song so much? Out of all the songs you got, why do you listen to this song so much? And I told her, I was because, so Tupac has a line in the song that says, maybe it's me that caused it, the fighting and the hurt and crying in my room thinking that I'm gonna be a burden. Mm-hmm. So I told my mom, I was that song, that line, and me being the bad kid make me feel like maybe you won't love me the same. And the conversation we had changed my life, right? So I'm 13, I'm finally coming into my emotions. So I didn't even realize I was saying it to her until it was almost out. And she was like, that ain't how love works.
It's not.
And that stuck with me. So now if I go build a studio and it's great, I don't think the love is no different than if I build a studio and it's not great. Or if I got arrested at the airport once. I forgot my gun was in my book bag, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't care about nobody in the world finding out but my mama. Because at that point I had, started my first business. It was doing good. I was on the straight and narrow, as the elders say. And I'm I don't want to go back to the bad child. In my mom's eyes, I don't want to go back to the bad child. So when my mom found out, she was like, you made a mistake. That ain't how life works. That ain't how love works. Don't worry about it. But that's why that's my favorite Tupac song. And that unconditional love does give you a spirit in you that makes you not worry about the rest of the world. If I'm good inside my house, I'm cool.
Yes, I'm amazing.
Last question. If you wasn't a judge, no, second to last question, I lied. If you wasn't a judge or a lawyer, what would you be? Or author, because you already author, you can't use that.
I am an author now, huh?
Yeah. And technically a record executive, but that's another story all itself.
I probably would have been a math teacher. Have a minor in mathematics.
Okay, now this is the last question. If you could pick a group or a person that you could have the most inspirational impact on, who would it be?
My children.
I want to ask you why, but that's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, but I'll answer it anyway.
Go ahead.
Because I feel like that my first purpose, the main reason I was born, was to be their mother. Everything after that is gravy. Terrinee Gundy was put on this earth to be me and Michelle and Kevin's mother, to breathe light and love into them. And so before I can go on to do anything or be considered great at anything, none of that matters if I have not contributed and produced an offspring and a generation that keeps my bloodline on in a way that is representative, in a way that I feel like our ancestors would be proud. Because I think people lose sight. There's so many of us on earth right now, but there's so many who didn't make it. And so we're talking about hundreds of years of generations that aren't sitting here right now, whose bloodlines died. So for me, I always, not even always want to just inspire them. If I don't do that, I have failed. It's my biggest purpose in life, to inspire my children.
That's fire. I got 3 minutes, so I'm sneaking another question in. If you could change one law, what would it be?
Well, here's the truth. And it's going to sound very judge-like.
Oh.
Because I am a judge, I do not make laws. So I'm going to leave the lawmaking to the lawmakers.
It's a good swim move.
I'm from Duval.
Thank you.